Hi friends, Miss Onesi here. Welcome back for week 3 of distance learning. So we've had 3 weeks down. Hopefully by this time we've gotten used to this new normal of school. We've gotten used to looking out every Monday for Miss Onesi's new weekly videos. We've gotten used to doing our packets every week. And if we have any questions or concerns, we've been reaching out to Miss Onesi to get those questions figured out. So without further ado, let's get into this week's lesson, Lesson 9, Determining the Theme of a Story. If you're on the right page, you're going to be on page, it'll say 134 at the bottom of your packet. So in today's lesson, we are going to be reading stories about bravery, and we're going to be exploring the themes in those stories. Now, I know we've learned about themes a lot this year, but let's review what we know about a theme. So a couple very common themes that I know of are: 1, there's no place like home. 2, stand up for your beliefs. And 3, hard work usually pays off. Now, what do these 3 statements have in common? Think about it. What do those 3 statements have in common? Well, all of those statements express a message or some kind of valuable lesson about life. So when authors write stories, they want us to enjoy their stories, but they also want readers to learn something about life from what happens in the story. This life lesson is called the theme. For example, if a character's careless behavior causes problems for the character, then one theme of that story might be think before you act, right? So sometimes you have to make an inference when you're reading something. Remember, an inference is a reasonable guess. So if the author doesn't state something directly in the text, you have to maybe make a guess about it. Now that's true for themes. They are not going to be directly said in the text, but you're going to have to infer the theme by looking at text details and what you know from your own experiences. So let's go ahead and look at our learning target for today. And I apologize if you can hear the man mowing the lawn outside. Let's look at our learning target for today. So our goal for today: we want to, using details in the text, identify the theme of a story. This is going to help us understand the story's important message or important lesson. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with that today. So right below the learning target, you're going to have this section that says read. It's going to tell you a little bit about what the theme is, okay? So go ahead and take a moment, pause the video, and read that section that says read. Go ahead and pause now. So when you read a story, you want to think about what happens to the main character and ask yourself, what did the character learn from his or her experiences? Thinking about the important events in a story is going to help us figure out or infer the theme, and therefore we'll be able to get a deeper understanding of the story. So let's go ahead and look at that graphic, those 3 pictures right under that read section. So first we see a little boy at the top of a slide, and he says, I've never done this before. How do we think he's feeling? And then the second one we see is riding down the slide. Look at his face, infer how he's feeling. Does he look scared still? Does he look excited that he's going down the slide? He looks happy, right? He's smiling. And then in the third picture he says, wow, that was fun. I can't wait to go again. So from those 3 pictures, we want to think about, our main character, okay, this little boy. What did he learn after going through these different experiences? Well, I know he went down the slide. At first, he was really afraid. And then he went down and he said, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go again. That was so much fun. So I know that the theme of this story might be, even if you're scared of something at first, try it anyway, because it might be something you really like. Or maybe to put it even more simply, you could say, don't be afraid to try something new. So on the next page, page 135, you're going to have a graphic that's going to help you figure out what the theme of this cartoon is. So go ahead and fill out page 35 and come up with your own complete sentence for what the theme is in that last box. So once you're finished all of pages 135 and 134, go ahead and turn to page 136 with me. The top of page 136, I see that the title of the story we're going to be reading is called The Two Travelers. And if I look at that picture, kind of a creepy picture, I see a man lying down. He kind of looks like he's dead or something. And then I see a really angry looking bear standing over him. Okay, so I know this story is going to be about probably a bear. And guessing from the title, it's going to be about two travelers. So we're going to be reading a fable today. A fable is a made-up story. And we're going to be reading this fable about bravery. So first we're going to read to understand what the author says. And then we're going to read to study the details to figure out what this fable's theme is. What kind of life lesson is this author trying to teach us? All right, so just like every other week, I want you guys to pause the video and read this story independently. Go ahead and play the video when you're all finished reading. All right, 3 quick questions to make sure we read this story and we understand it. Number 1, where does the story take place, or where is the story setting? This story takes place in the wild, right? In the lonely countryside. Okay, number 2. What is the relationship between the two men at the beginning of the story? So the two men are travel companions, right? They travel together. And third, last but not least, what is the fable mostly about? So we know that the fable is mostly about how two men react when a bear rushes at them. Okay, so at the top of page 137, let's look at our explore question together. Our explore question says, how do the details about the story, characters, and events help to develop the theme in the two travelers? Okay, so the explore questions ask me to figure out how the details about the characters and the events in the fable help develop the theme. So the questions are going to help guide me to some important details. So let's look at the first question. The first question asks what the characters promise at the beginning of the story. I'm going to go back and reread the first few paragraphs to try to figure this out. Give me 1 second. Okay, I hope you went back and reread with me. So after rereading those first few paragraphs, I see that the men are going to take a trip through the wild. They promise to stand by each other in the face of danger. That answers the first question. I'm going to write that on the lines for the first question in item 1. Go ahead and do that with me. I wrote, the characters promise each other that they will stand by one another if they meet with danger. Now, the second question asks about an event in the story that causes a problem for these characters. Now, I know as a good reader, right, that how characters react to these problems kind of reveals important things about their character, right? How you react to something going wrong kind of tells a lot about who you are as a person. So I'm going to keep reading to see what happens in the story. Okay, so what was the problem? What was the problem for the characters, right? A bear rushes out of the woods. That's a huge problem for them. So go ahead and write that for that second line in number 1. Okay, so we have that down, but we haven't quite figured out our theme yet. We're going to have to keep rereading the story and keep trying to find details that give us an insight into our theme. So go ahead and try to answer numbers 2 and 3 by yourself. Go ahead and play the video once you're finished answering those questions. So the answer to these questions are actually showing us that theme that we've been looking for, right? It's pointing us out those details that help us figure out that theme. So these details show that what the characters said to each other and then what they actually did taught the second man a valuable lesson, right? We learned that the second man learns that the first man lied, right? The first man had no intention to stand by the second man if they were met with danger, which is exactly what happened. This bear came, and the second man did not want to hang out with the first man anymore, right? He ditched him. So what life lesson is the author trying to teach you by telling this story? Think about it for a moment. So let's go ahead and skip down to number 5, actually. I want to look at this short response. Let's read it together. It says, describe a theme of the two travelers. Include details about the story events and characters' actions that helped you infer the theme or the author's life lesson. Use the space provided on page 140 to write your response. In that little hint section, let's read that too. It says, focus on what the characters do and what they say. Okay. So when you guys write this response, you can either write it on page 140 or you can type it out on your computer. Either way, I want you guys to either, if you wrote it, take a picture and send it to me, or if you type it out, send it to me. And you can send it to my email right here. I also put this email in the description box, so if you want to just copy and paste it onto your email, you can do that. But I would love to hear your guys' responses to this and actually be able to reply to you and answer and see if it's correct or not and be able to have a discussion about it. So that's all we're going to go through together this week, but I'm confident that you guys will be able to finish the rest of your packets on your own. Just like always, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to me either by email or by phone call or text. And all that information on how to get in contact with me is going to be down in the description box below. Love you guys so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye.